thanks for joining me today. I wanted to show you a recipe that I recently kind of made up, basically. I had some leftover pumpkin, just raw Libby's pumpkin, that I needed to use up because I had opened a can for a few days ago. So, before we get started, if you are enjoying any of my videos, if you think you'll enjoy this video, please go subscribe to my channel. Give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it, feel free to give me a thumbs down too. That works. Comments, anything. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. So because I had leftover, I went ahead and weighed out how much pumpkin I had, and I actually had just shy of 2 servings. So basically we're gonna do 2 servings of raw pumpkin, which is, it's 122 grams per serving, and so we have 244. I think I have like 243 in here, somewhere around there. So anyways, go ahead and do 2 servings. All right, we're just gonna throw that in the mixing bowl. Oh, and that actually popped out fairly easily. Sorry. All right, and the next ingredient is going to be Greek yogurt, non-fat Greek yogurt. That's all this is. This happens to be Member's Mark. Of course, any brand works. And I'm gonna go ahead and add 1 serving, which is 170 grams. And rinse my spatula. I did put a little pumpkin on there. All right, so 170 grams. Now this adds some consistency. It's also going to add some protein in these, which is what we were aiming for. I wanted to keep these low calorie and add protein. Oh, right at 170. Okay, nice. Love it when that happens. All right, we'll just throw that right in there with the pumpkin. Try not to slam my bowl. Okay, I tried. There we go. All right, now I'm also going to add in some egg whites because they do help to cook, like for any baking. You could, if you want to up the macros on it too, you can add whole egg or even 1 or 2 eggs. That's entirely up to you. I went ahead and just did egg whites today, mainly for ease and straight protein. So we're gonna do 4 servings, which is going to do the 46 grams per serving. There's measurements on these too, but I like to weigh everything. It's, well, first of all, it's easier and more accurate. So we're going to do 184 grams of egg whites, hopefully. Just about. Really? Perfect. All right. Go ahead and pour those in. Okay. Now the next of our wet ingredients is I'm gonna add some applesauce. Now applesauce is actually, this is unsweetened applesauce. And it is great in baking. Even before I started really baking on healthy foods and stuff, I would use these in cake mixes. I would use applesauce in place of oil. It is a substitute for that, and obviously if you're using a half a cup of applesauce as opposed to a half a cup of oil, you're going to greatly reduce your calories and fat. So any recipe, even if you're not cutting out sugar or anything, you're using cake mixes, you know, cupcakes, whatever, you can still substitute out, and that's going to at least give you some reduction in your calories and your fat. All right, and we are just going to do 1 serving. I believe that is what I used earlier. I should probably double check before I find out I'm lying. Nope, 1 serving, 122 grams. Okay. So I also put my recipes into my FitnessPal. And what I find that I like to do with those is I write the recipe down ahead of time as I'm doing it. Plus that way if I'm gonna make any changes or anything, there we go. Because when you make a recipe in my FitnessPal up front, you have to put in this amount of servings. I don't always know, so like in this circumstance, I didn't know how many separate muffins I was gonna do, so I didn't know that it does come out to be 18 servings, by the way, because I did make this earlier. But before I started entering everything, I didn't know that. And so I went ahead and wrote everything down and then went back and entered it in my FitnessPal once I knew how many it was gonna make. And it calculated, and these muffins that we're making right now actually only come out to 53 calories per muffin. And with these ingredients, they're not gonna rise to be your big typical muffins, but they're still gonna taste good. And for 53 calories each, I mean, eat a couple. All right, so that's our main wet ingredients that we have in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this just a little mix as I'm measuring out the next few ingredients anyways. It's a little loud, not as loud as a blender at least. Bring out just a tad. That whip. So I had a couple of different ideas that I was going to do for these, and I went ahead and went with this one. If you've seen any of my other videos, you know that I absolutely love, turn that down just in case, Ideal Leans products. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, by the way. I just actually really, really like their stuff. So I order a lot of it and I use it. And I happen to have this one that it's just multi-purpose unflavored whey protein. So you can use for anything, and I thought I would give it a try in here today. My other thoughts that I was gonna use were, of course, casein protein is a big go-to for me. I have unflavored and I have vanilla, and that is not Ideal Lean, it's just other brands. But I use that a lot in like my crepes and stuff. Another thought I had was I actually have some pumpkin spice protein powder that would probably be really good in it, but I went ahead and I had this to use, so I thought I would give it a try. Also, I have pancake mix from Ideal Lean, and there's 2 different kinds. There's buttermilk, which makes fabulous pancakes and is delicious, and there's also just a plain pancake, and I use that a lot as kind of like an unflavored, because it actually doesn't taste real well to just make straight pancakes. So that was another option for the muffins, but I went ahead and went with this since I had it on hand, and I don't really have a whole lot of other uses for it, to be honest. So turn my scale back on. I'm gonna add 4 servings of this, just double checking myself. Yep, okay, which is going to be 100 grams at 25 grams per serving. I always weigh my protein powder even when I'm doing like my drinks, because a scoop, there's so many different ways you can interpret a scoop, first of all. My husband definitely has a different definition of a scoop than I do. We only need 10 more grams, so that Oops. So most of the time, that's a scoop, not packed in, but that would probably come out to about the correct term. Or you can have my husband's scoop, which is not going to be 25 grams. So I win. All right. We will add this in here. Easier when I lift that up. Don't be afraid to try different ingredients, and you know, some things work, some don't, and it may not always work out the way you intend, but doesn't necessarily mean it's a fail either. You know, I always say scrambled crepes taste just as good as pretty crepes. So there you have that. All right, before I mix that, I'll go ahead and add the next one. So for sweetener, I added this Swerve sugar replacement. It's basically, it's just 0 calorie brown sugar, and it actually tastes really good, I think. I'm also used to kind of stevia and stuff, so I know it's sometimes an acquired taste. I went ahead and went with a half a cup, and let's see, they do it by teaspoon and 4 grams, but this stuff really you can use, it's like equal amounts. So whatever recipe you're substituting for, if it calls for half a cup sugar, then you can use a half a cup of the Swerve. And I think typically, a lot of times, half a cup is just, I thought I'd give it a try, and it worked out. So it does work out nicely for this one. Oops. All right, we're gonna need to lift that back up. That was a little more difficult than I anticipated. Okay, we'll just kind of give that a nice mix before I throw some more things in here. All right, let's see. Not sure what else I'm missing. Got that. And just our seasonings. So I could have just went with like pumpkin spice or pumpkin pie seasoning, which I think I do actually have on hand. But when I was doing this earlier, I actually forgot that I had that, and I went ahead and went with these seasonings. So I'm gonna do that again. And first of all, they turned out. So, you know, if it's not broke, don't. Or if, yeah, I don't know the saying. So I went with a half a teaspoon of nutmeg. This is my 4th teaspoon, so we'll just put, and this is a rough estimate. If you like more, you know, if you're a huge nutmeg fan, add a little more. Same with, you know, if you don't like any of these other ones that I'm going to use, you can absolutely use your own seasonings. So these are just ones that I was just kind of going for that pumpkin spice, since I was using the pumpkin. And I went ahead and added a teaspoon of turmeric powder, really just for the heck of it. It's one of those good seasonings, you know, a lot of benefits. So I thought, yeah, why not? Put a whole teaspoon of that in there. If you're not a fan, leave it out. Cloves are a bit strong, so I just went with a half a teaspoon of that. And again, I'm using my 4th, so it's gonna look like 2 of them. Oh, we're getting down to the bottom on there. All right. And I felt like I wanted a little bit of the ginger flavor, kind of, I guess, pumpkin spice / gingerbread muffins. So, and I'm gonna go with a whole teaspoon of ginger. It's pretty delicious, but not for everybody. So Don't have it, don't like it, leave it out. All right, and last of the seasonings, cinnamon. Cinnamon I went with 2 full teaspoons of because it's good. You could probably even go with a little more. All right. And lastly is I'm gonna add some baking powder. If I had decided to go with the pancake mix, I probably would have left the baking powder out because it has those type of ingredients already in it to make them rise. Now I'm gonna go with 2 teaspoons. If you have any other recipes that you use baking powder for and you think you need more, and if it'll make a difference, then by all means. I honestly don't really know how much should go in, so I went with 2 teaspoons, and it worked out okay. All right, not leaving anything out, I don't think so. We'll give this a pretty decent mix now. Love these things, silicone muffin pans, work great. Alright, and so for that is really I would dance, but you definitely don't want to see that. It smells delicious. Get that out of the way. Can't lick it because I'm on camera. Just put it in the sink. All right. So I went ahead and used a 1/4 of a cup measuring cup to scoop each one, which is perfect for my size of muffins here. Of course, you could divide your recipe any way. You just have to adjust your macros for how big of your cupcakes are. But with everything that I did here, all of the measurements, it comes out to 18 muffins. So, and they ended up being, by calculating that, they are 53 calories per muffin. So if you do it exactly as I did, that is what you will have. Drop that over there. So, now, you can get this even more accurate if you want to weigh your entire bowl and then do it by grams and then scoop out each one, but I think this is close enough doing it this way. I'm just going to use the 4th cup and just sort of scrape and dump. And of course, if you're less worried about them being all even, then, you know, grab a ladle and just scoop away however many you want. We'll just do a couple so I can show you. They're pretty quick and easy. Sometimes when I'm doing a recipe, I'll even, not necessarily weigh, but like I'll dump the entire thing into, I have a big measuring cup, like a 4 cup, depending on how much, because there's quite a bit here, so I didn't do that. That's why I just got the measuring cup out to just measure the portion sizes. But if you want to do it ahead and see how many servings yours is going to make, you can measure it all out and then decide, oh, I want to break it into 1 cup or half cup or whatever, and then do more or less servings that way. Hopefully that made sense. Lost my train of thought for just a second, but so I'm also going to add pecans, and I'm going to add them individually, because if you've ever made a recipe or made it, you know, any kind of batch, and if you're going to add the nuts to this, they're all going to fall at the bottom. So your first muffins are not going to have any pecans, and then the last ones are going to have a ton, and that's obviously not going to be accurate if you're going to be calculating macros for them. So I weighed out 2 grams earlier. Well, I weighed out, basically I wanted to put a teaspoon on each one, and it came out to about 2 grams. So of course, doing it like this, it's not perfectly accurate, but 2 grams is a very small amount, and a whole teaspoon is not a very big amount either. So we're not gonna be, if our calories are off, they're only gonna be within less than 5 here. So I'm just gonna dump roughly, and just kind of shake it and get it as level as I can, a teaspoon on each one. Already smell amazing. There, and I will continue doing the rest, like so. So that's how they look before going in the oven. And I am going to put them in a minute, but I did go ahead and bake some up ahead of time. Since I don't have time lapse or any of that capability yet, this is also why it smells so good in here. So this is how they turned out. And I did taste earlier. I wanted to just taste here with you guys, but couldn't stand it. So, but anyways, so they came out, they're like a little spongy. They're not quite as, you know, they're not big like muffins that you would buy at Costco or something, but they hit the spot. They're full of flavor, and they're nice and moist. So definitely give these a try. 100%. You can, of course, you know, you can adjust your sweetener. You can use any type that you prefer. I think that worked out perfect for these. But, you know, if you prefer the maltitol or even natural sweeteners, and you just want to add a little bit of calories or something to yours, by all means, go ahead, experiment with it. Give me some feedback. Let me know what you tried, if you did anything different, how you liked it, what you did or didn't like. Okay? And hopefully you enjoy. Thanks. Talk to you soon.